Hey, this is Forrest Fish Tanks here, back with another video. And somebody requested that I did a video on how to take care of a crayfish. So, pretty much what you need to know is that a crayfish is a freshwater fish, or crustacean, that needs to be kept at a moderate pH and moderate temperature. They can last in anywhere cold temperatures or even really warm temperatures, but it's best to keep them at a normal temperature from anywhere from a high 60s range to a high 70s range. So pretty much for feeding, crayfish will eat anything that you put on the bottom. I like to feed them these sinking meat pellets because that's what they like to eat most. It's a shrimp flavor, but pretty much anything will do. I used to feed him algae wafers when he was smaller, and if you feed them good foods, then as you can see, this guy's coloring is getting really nice and he looks really healthy. The other good thing about crayfish is if any dead matter falls to the bottom, say plant leaves or even a fish, the crayfish can clean that right up and it will provide a really good source of food for it. But I wouldn't recommend feeding them live food all the time, as they will get really used to it and try to attack your other fish. So crayfish are also they can be really dangerous to your other fish. They can attack them. I've seen him go after several fish. But this specific type of crayfish right here is, some people call it a spiny nose crayfish, and it's one of the most friendly species. They have smaller claws, and they can't really attack fish as hard. So this one right here, usually I've only seen him kill one fish ever, and I've had him for a long time. But ever since I started feeding him daily and he's been eating really good, he stops attacking fish. So pretty much if you keep your crayfish good, it should not go after any fish. I also recommend getting a crayfish that has smaller claws. When it comes to hiding spaces for your crayfish, you want to make sure to have plenty of hiding spaces for them to hide in. So what I have here is I have a PVC pipe and a coffee mug so that he can go in there and stay safe. I have a smaller PVC pipe here for him to hide inside of, and this is where he's comfortable enough to shed his shell. And then under here it's dark so he can go hide. And then I have two plants that he can climb in, and I've seen him hide in there a lot of times. Also have the flower pot that has the air going through it, so if he wants to go in there and pick at the air bubbles, which they sometimes like to do, he can do that. So if you want to have more than one crayfish, I would recommend you don't do that. But if you do, I recommend a tank more than 30 gallons for two. I would say about 15 gallons per crayfish. And you'd have to have about 2 hiding spaces per each, because they like to change hiding spots a lot. You don't want them fighting over territory. Also, I would not recommend keeping a smaller crayfish with more dangerous fish, because although they have claws and they're strong and known to take down smaller fish, they can't really stand up against a bigger fish, even though they have that. So I would recommend you keep them with smaller fish in a smaller setting, so they don't go after the small. I wouldn't keep them with really tiny fish, because you don't want them going after them, but I wouldn't keep them with big fish either, because you don't want the fish going after your crayfish. Crayfish should not usually go after your plants, but I recommend if you do keep them with live plants, that it's plants that don't fall apart too easily. I've seen this guy rip some leaves off of my plants, and that's why they're not in the very best condition. But that's why I also provide an equal amount of fake plants for him to climb up on, so that he has plants that he can forage through, I guess, and not destroy the live plants. So usually it's also good to provide a place for your crayfish so that he can surface to the top and get air. So I have this plant right here that goes all the way to the top, but keep in mind, if you do that, you also want to seal your tank. So what I have up here is I have some decorations holding down. I have netting with plastic over it, clear plastic, so that he can't get out. And this actually works really well. I've never seen him escape. Well, he did escape once before I put that there, and that's why I decided to put that. So you want to make sure also, if you have a crayfish on a hard floor, like if you have the tank on a place that's on a hard floor, you want to be extra cautious about that, because if they do get out and hit themselves on the hard floor, their shell is more likely to break. When you're putting a crayfish back in the tank after it's already escaped, what you want to do is you want to hold it underwater for about, I'd say, 3 seconds so that the air bubbles can escape the shell so it can sink to the bottom better, because you don't want your crayfish floating around and being sick. That's pretty much it on the video. Thanks for watching. Bye.